We are here with the irreverent, with the charming, with the insatiable, and the extremely good-looking Andrew Rooney. Welcome.
Wow, that's the best introduction I've had today. Thank you.
Just today.
Happy to be here.
What was yesterday's one?
You got to step your
Not even
game up.
close. Happy to be here, gentlemen.
Yeah. And of course, Mike. Nice to see you again.
Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, well,
you haven't fired me yet.
Again, it's our show.
Oh yeah, sorry, I keep forgetting.
So someone kick us off. What are we here to talk about?
Lars Ulrich.
I think Ulrich.
Ulrich.
I genuinely don't know, and I've got it written down.
It's quite an important detail. What is this guy's name?
I want to see what Claude says. Is it Lars Ulrich or Lars Ulrich?
I'm not quite catching the distinction you're making there. They sound like Lars Ulrich to me.
Well, I think we're going to ignore that.
I think people use both.
Yeah, I think so.
What does he use, though? Isn't that the important?
Yeah, well, you'd think so.
I think I heard him say Ulrich I watched a recent Smartlist podcast that he did.
I forgot about that.
It was a good one.
Yeah,
it was really good.
Yeah.
It was kind of nice to see a bit of behind the scenes as well, and not just have him, either talking about Napster or his playing or some sort of controversy.
Yeah.
Just kind of shooting the shit a little bit. It was good. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, people rag on him all the time, which is what we want to sort of unpack here, right?
Yeah.
We've got this series that we're developing, Why Do People Hate... ... And our first feature is Lars Ol. Let's just leave it at Ol.
Just Lars.
Just Lars.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll stay on Lars.
So Ringo, one name. Travis.
Yeah, and Lars, everyone knows who Lars is.
Yeah,
have you ever met
definitely.
another Lars?
There's a Lars on my boys' soccer side. Aside from that, no.
But is he named after Lars from Metallica?
Good question. Well,
That's like saying, is there another MacGyver? And you go, I know a MacGyver, but he was named after the TV show.
Right. Well, that sort of is a good way to kick it off, because we're talking about someone who is so famous,
Yeah,
you don't need a second name.
right.
And much like Travis Barker, Blink-182, or Ringo, all got in common, they're very wealthy drummers. Is it a coincidence they're also the most mocked and possibly even hated?
See, you've already seen a through line. I didn't pick that up.
Well, potentially. I'm sure we'll get there.
Is this coming from a drummer point of view? Is it?
Well, there has to be an element of jealousy, at least a little bit, tied into this discussion today.
Yeah.
Do you want me to set out a little bit of context?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, definitely.
So here I am just taking over the podcast. Look at me.
The less work we have to do, the better.
So if you have been living under a rock, or this is possibly not part of civilian culture, Lars is mocked online a lot, and within drum groups, perhaps music groups as an extension. I don't know if this crosses over to the civilian life.
I'm not sure if it does either.
Okay.
It's not like I kind of knew of a little bit of the controversy around him, but it wasn't until I started prepping for this episode that I kind of really dug into the details and knew it a bit more. Yeah.
I also don't know when it started, because I don't remember hearing about it, back in the Black Album days.
Well, I think part of that was he was still a very legitimate player.
Right.
So the whole picture was pretty solid. And it was possibly before Napster happened as well.
Yeah.
So I think that was a key moment, because Napster, that was 2000. And when did the internet become ubiquitous? 99?
Yeah.
So I think something has happened here where he was the original villain.
Right.
The rich guy taking free music away from the fans.
The fans who didn't
how
feel
deep
like
you didn't want to
paying
pay.
for it.
Yeah. But also, let's just set out Metallica as a top tier legacy band.
Yep.
No one's going to deny that.
Yep.
40 plus years in the game, still going.
And I was surprised the other night to discover that they were killing it in the 90s.
Oh.
Because my sort of base level understanding is that when grunge happened, it just knocked most of those bands out. And I thought Metallica had been knocked right down several pegs and then kind of climbed back up again.
Good point.
Yeah, but I think they were headlining and selling massive numbers of tickets the whole way through.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, who could we compare the longevity, I hate that word, Who could we compare that to? Is it Rolling Stones, sort of?
Rush.
Oh, no. That's
It only took how long? Three minutes?
beep.
This may need to be another episode, but I actually think the longest running band that never changed their lineup, which deserves more credit than they get, is U2.
Were they
50
70s?
years. Late 70s. 50
Yeah.
years. They must, I think, maybe 78, so almost 50 years.
Metallica, 81.
Yeah, unfortunately, lineup changed because Cliff died.
Right.
But
And
not
Jason left, and
Of course,
Okay.
yeah. But not that Cliff was their fault, but, you know.
So I thought it is at least important to establish a baseline level of these guys have been in the game. They've been in the bus.
Yeah.
They've done the work. And also, I want a little bit of a disclaimer that I'm not even a huge Metallica fan.
Yeah.
Or a Lars fan, as we were talking about, as we were just...
Well, none of us really are,
Yeah.
which makes us, I think we're the right people to talk about it, really.
So
I mean, I've really liked them. I've always really liked them, but I've never bought a record or, you know.
I had the Black
Yeah.
album and Justice for All.
Mm-hmm.
So a casual
Yep.
fan, the hits, great.
Yep.
I still get regularly, even younger students asking to learn Enter Sandman.
Yep. Did you ever buy a record or anything?
I sure did.
Yeah.
So I had the Black Album, which I think might have been my father's. I don't think I bought that one.
Oh,
But
what kind of father buys the Black album? Cool father.
but I bought I bought the Saint Anger album when it came out, and I didn't know about internet forums. I
hear
didn't
that?
know about fan
Did you
magazines.
hear that? That was just all of our listeners leaving.
And
He took it back. He got a refund.
oh no, I did not. I still enjoy those songs in that album. I might be one of the few people who's willing to admit that, but I didn't know any different. I thought it was cool. You know, when I bought it, I played the crap out of it, and the listening to it back now, I understand the controversy. I hear all the
Pingy.
the mixing. It sounds like he's using a aluminum baseball bat on like a beer keg or something for the snare. Or, sorry, aluminium. But it's it's at the time when I was listening to it, I loved it. You know, I didn't know any different, didn't know any better, and I still have a few of those songs on my workout playlist.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
But if we're talking about one of the biggest bands of all time, we all know that whole thing about you can't have a great band without a great drummer.
Yeah.
You know, and if your drummer sucks, the band's toast, right?
Let's just stay on that for a second. That's a really interesting thought exercise, isn't it? Can you think of a great band who didn't have a solid as rhythm section?
People will say instantly, Ringo sucks.
Well, but they're just
Yeah,
morons.
but that's because people are stupid.
But this, I feel, this is the crux of this whole thing. I think this is what it's all leading to. Travis Barker is the same. I feel like Dave Grohl, possibly in there as well. But they're all wealthy, hugely successful. Is it just oversaturation? Is it just we heard it too much?
Heard which part?
All of them.
Well, their parts, right?
Because
Right.
was success, did that sort of kill it? Because it's just like, I've heard it too many times. Like, I don't know, Gangnam Style, you know, you just...
So you mean they become so successful that they become targets, basically?
Yeah, I
Because
think
people
so.
get sick of it.
I think so. And
There's got to be like a bit of a saturation level, right? Where you like it, and okay,
Yeah.
I've heard it enough. Let's hear something new.
Nirvana
We need
were
to.
a lot like that.
Well, we need to do an episode similar to this about Phil Collins because he's totally. I think Phil Collins is a complete genius and amazing on so many levels. But he was so successful. He was just played so much that it then sort of backfired on him almost. You know. Yeah, which is actually what he says about it. He said they played me too much and people got sick of me. You know,
Right.
is that what you mean?
I think so. I think there's a
Yeah.
bit of that. But I also think, and I don't know much about the whole Napster deal. I didn't even have a computer at the time. I was a late adopter of anything slightly technology. But I think that had to have labeled him at least a little bit as a villain,
Absolutely.
a rich guy villain
Yep.
who wants even more money.
Yeah.
Like, so I think something happened there where after that, if he does anything, it's going to be a target.
I like to try and build the opposition's argument, you know, on a controversial subject or something I disagree with, and I can't find the argument that would explain why he would be the villain in that situation.
On the Napster
On
thing?
the Napster thing, yeah.
Some of the stuff that I read about it at the time, once again, I wasn't really keyed in on this at the time, but from what I read, it sounded like people, however it was portrayed, it almost sounded like he was going after the fans, saying like, don't download this stuff. When, I mean, really, you should be going after Napster itself. You go after the parent company, not the end user.
That makes sense, because I did see footage of him holding a list up where he had a list.
He had the usernames and stuff, so like I feel like that might have been sort of the tipping point. You know, why are you coming after us? We're just trying to support you and listen to your music, but at the end of the day, you're not supporting because you are illegally downloading.
That's right.
And I mean, I destroyed my parents' computers with LimeWire viruses back in the day. You know, it's that was a bit of a rite of passage for people in music. In the late '90s, early 2000s. But yeah, that would definitely piss a lot of people off.
I can see that.
If you're going after, a band like Metallica's status, going after what the fans perceive as them. I mean, at the end of the day, he turned out to be right. You know,
he was totally right.
Streaming absolutely killed revenue for bands.
He was the face of that. Apparently, that he was. It was almost Lars takes on the fan,
the people.
You know, so
like that list thing, I think is a good answer to what I was asking, but everything else, it's still, I mean, he was obviously right. What are they fucking talking about?
There was some type of claim made that individually each person would owed hundreds of thousands of dollars in terms of lost money and royalties.
Right.
So like individually, almost like I could chase you. Do you remember those old you wouldn't download a...
Yeah.
You know, do you remember those ads?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would
on the
totally
front of the DVD.
download a car if I could. Hell yeah.
Download a house and all
Fuck, that'd be awesome.
So it was a thing.
But there's one thing, there's the you would, because, you know, there's reasons why you would just go, screw it, I'm going to do it. But then there's the defending it thing. The defending it thing is the bit I didn't get. And I remember that at the time, being in the odd debate with someone, and they were trying to defend it. And I remember saying, it's like you walk past the back door of a warehouse or some company, and you realize the door's open and no one's around and there's all the stock on the shelf, and you go, I guess it's fine for me just to take the stock then, because I can just walk in and take it and there's no obvious consequence. And I'm like, that's just clearly ethically wrong. It doesn't mean you might do it. Some people would do it, but then the next thing is to then defend it.
I think possibly another analogy could be something like Apple or Tesla, who are two sort of like trendy companies, you know, that are cool. They're quite cool companies.
Well, Tesla was a cool.
Yeah. so exactly. So then it becomes cool to not like it.
Yeah.
And if you start digging in, you will find stuff. You'll find stuff about Apple that is not so good, and likewise Tesla. And I think that happens here, where that he's been established as the punching bag for the industry, or for drumming. So now we're going to find stuff. But I cannot believe it's gone on this long.
Right.
It's quite amazing. I think the other thing is his playing did deteriorate, especially live.
Right.
So there's a lot of people, again, sharing footage. Oh, look at Lars, and sort of laughing, and then people just piling in of him having a gig fail, which we've all had.
Totally. Yeah.
So if you look for it, you will find it.
Yeah.
And then 99.5% of people at that concert would say he was amazing.
Right.
And wouldn't have even noticed that he dropped a stick or he fluffed a fill or,
Yeah.
you know?
And do you think that because moments after the Napster thing, that's when they did Some Kind of Monster? Do you think that do you think that redeemed him a little bit or made things worse?
The doco?
Yeah.
Well, again, I'm not a huge Lars fanboy.
Yeah.
I don't think he came across particularly likable.
Have you seen it recently?
Not recently, no.
Right. I watched it at the time and thought quite low about the whole thing. Thought it was pretty bad.
Oh, just the whole thing.
I remember just coming away going, they seem like whiny little bitches, you know.
Bit rockstarish.
Yeah, or just not even bad, like cool enough to be rock stars. More like they turned into
almost
like,
more childish. with some of the stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah,
But then I watched
stormed out, right?
Yeah, Hetfield did. Yeah, but then I watched it a couple of nights ago because of course I knew we were doing this, and my view on it totally changed.
Oh wow,
Same.
Totally changed. And
Wow.
I thought Lars, on the most part, came across really well. It was obvious. I mean, James didn't at times, but he was obviously having a meltdown, and he went off and got help.
Wow.
And yeah, it's funny how 25 years between
Yeah.
watching it.
Rewatching it back, it seemed to me like he's almost, the leader, the CEO of this ship,
Yeah.
and half of the
Lars.
employees. It's what
Yeah.
it's what it sure seemed like, right? He's the one trying to get everybody into the studio, trying to actually have this recording time, and then James obviously has to go to rehab. He just doesn't show up one day, doesn't come back for 11 months,
Right.
And then when he did come back, as part of his stipulation, leaving rehab, he could only work, I think, like 4 or 5 hours a day. So he was working from like 12 to 4 or 11 to 4 or something.
Yeah.
And then he got mad when other people wanted to keep mixing, keep working on the songs
Yeah.
afterwards. So it's like,
Yeah.
come on, man. Like,
See,
I get it. You're the face and the voice of Metallica.
Yeah.
But what other job can you not show up to for 11 months and then finally show up and say, hey, by the way, guys, can we all just work 3 to 4 hours today? Like doctor's orders. Like,
I was quite interested though in that, because I thought I totally see how he was being controlling and unreasonable when he was trying to tell everybody, you're not even allowed to listen to what we've been working on once I've gone. But when he made his argument, he didn't convince me, but when he made his argument, you guys are going to start talking about it, make decisions, have opinions and whatever, you're going to move the project along and I won't be involved in it. I thought, I can understand how he'd feel.
yeah, I agree.
I wouldn't, again, defend what he was saying, but I can understand he is right, but probably in that moment he just had to accept that he had to take his hands off the wheel on this one,
The
Funny
show
moment.
must go on.
Yeah.
I should have watched it. I should have watched that, really.
It
That
is-
is a pretty good insight into
It is
the-
interesting watching it back. Yeah, all these years later. Yeah.
I did like the moment where Lars was complaining about the therapy and the rules and the counselor that was there and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, I thought we were a rock and roll band. What happened to being a rock and roll band?
Oh, like
And
he wanted him to keep drinking.
well, he's just kind of like, what are we doing? We're
right.
allowed to work from 12 to 4, and we've got a counselor here, and we're sharing our feelings, and and then just
was-
like,
it was-
weren't we like one of the most dangerous rock and roll bands in the world? And I was watching it going, he's got a point.
Yeah, the whole thing with the therapist was interesting.
Yeah.
Because, clearly they needed help at
Yeah.
that time. Like, very clearly they were in a pretty rough stage, pretty deep into some of their addictions. So, you understand why he would be there and why he'd be working with the band. It's a very popular thing in a lot of larger corporate culture, right? They bring in these sort of performance coaches to try and help people get through that whatever they're working on. But then when they were eventually like, okay, we don't need you anymore, and he started manipulating them to try and get them to stay on a bit longer, I was like, okay, kick that guy out.
Show me the money.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it's always interesting to me how behind the perception of the act is real people in real lives who are worried about things like their diet and staying fit and their family and they're real people. And maybe at this point we actually have to give them a huge amount of credit for being extremely progressive.
Absolutely.
For showing their flaws and vulnerabilities 25 years ago, putting yourself in a documentary where the whole thing's falling apart and there's a counsellor and all the rest of it. That's pretty bold of them. That could actually be more rock and roll.
And it definitely wasn't in vogue at the time. Like, nowadays it is much more open and accepting of speaking about those sort of things, but it wasn't at the time.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I remember at the time thinking that it was bonkers. Right.
Yeah.
Like, it's bizarre.
Same.
but-
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought they'd really done themselves a disservice.
Which also, that could lead into a whole another episode of, can you be a true rich rock star? Does that really... Are you like a badass, living life on the edge, multi-hundred millionaire? Like, does that...
That's a really good... We should do that. Yeah, we should do
I
an
think
episode
I
on it.
think my favorite albums are always when things are just so authentic.
Yeah.
For lack of a better word, where it's just like these guys are on the edge, which we're probably going to get to on a different conversation.
Yep.
But where it's just like this could fall apart at any minute. It sounds dangerous.
Yeah.
I feel like this is dangerous.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
you don't really feel like that when something's very produced and very, there's a business intent behind it.
That's right. Yeah. No, I don't know where you're going exactly. I want to make sure that we don't forget to talk about how important he was as a drummer when he started, when the band started. I mean, they really innovated a lot of stuff. You know, and I think when a band has been first to the punch and innovated things like that, they almost become they have immunity in a way, in many ways, right?
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I think you have to respect it.
Yeah.
They kind of wrote the book thrash,
Yep.
early thrash metal, along with some bands that I'm not as familiar with. I guess Slayer and Anthrax, those type of groups.
Yeah.
You know, that is the book.
Yeah.
That's the Tin Pan Alley of that genre.
Right.
You can still write new songs. They're not going to be in the book.
Yeah.
So I think, there is an amount of respect. And whether we get into a whole Dunning-Kruger debate of thinking you're better than him, or you could do that. I could be in Metallica,
Right.
which ignores the elephant in the room is they're not going to ask you to be in Metallica,
Yeah.
right?
But there's also the time. There's the time you come from, and I think about the difference between being an emerging drummer in the late 70s, early 80s versus being an emerging drummer now, where now your platforms are, or your opportunities to be out there, YouTube and TikTok and, you know, the odd kind of rubbish gig around town or whatever. But it's these days, you know, kids have grown up these days with all of this access to theory information and clips around technique, and this entire conversation now exists on the internet. None of that was available back then.
No.
And then there was the survival aspect of being on the road. Like on the Tommy Emmanuel re-release, he was talking about needing to play hard when he was, you know, starting out, and he was playing his guitar in a bar in Sydney or whatever, and he had to dig deep and play hard to win the room over. You know, there's a totally different type of environment to learn to play in. And Lars comes from that era of rock bands where they had to play in a totally different frame of mind to compete on this very aggressive, very heavy scene. Yeah. That's totally different to doing like clever little tricks on your hi-hat on YouTube.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think you could almost make like an art analogy. Like you could look at a piece of art and say, well, I could do those brush strokes. There's nothing particularly difficult about technically what's happened in the painting.
Yeah.
But that's the story behind it.
Right.
You know, and that represents inequality, and this color represents that. It's like, okay, that changes the whole conversation.
Not only that, but also the influences of the era. So, you know, we now have all this other music in our heads that have come out in the last 45 years.
Which is all quantized.
That's right, a lot of it, yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, he was coming up with different influences. So it's unfair in many ways to compare him to anyone of late, because it's a totally different beginning point. I mean, as a drummer, I know you're saying you're not a giant Lars guy, but as you've been listening to some of it, what stands out to you about his technique or his creativity, or is there anything about his playing on the positive that really stands out to you?
I think with guys like this, or Steven Adler, or Dave Grohl, there'll be three heavy, you know, hard rock drummers where that is what they do. They're not an everyman. They're not a Swiss Army knife, Vinnie Colaiuta.
Yeah.
They're not going to play you a beautiful jazz waltz and then subtly go to brushes. They are rock drummers. And they hit really hard every night. And they just have their lane. They're a specialist.
Right.
Which, that is also not very fashionable, is it? You know, you've got to learn everything. You've got to learn Afro-Cuban. You've got to learn jazz. And, jazz is the hardest. I've got to learn jazz. And then you've got to do this. Don't need to do rock. Rock's easy. So then we do funk, and then we do this, and we've got to do reggae. These guys are rock drummers.
Right.
And they have this bag of tricks, and you can hear when they're getting pushed to the edge of their limit, which I personally love. I love that sound.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, it's like watching an independent film, and you can see that they're getting pushed to the edge of the budget,
right?
And they're pushing against this budget, and all the constraints that are available to them. But I think that's what's exciting about it.
Yeah,
they're on the edge.
Yeah,
he's not Vinny,
right?
So he's trying to hold on.
I did this gig in Christchurch a few years ago, and it was a sort of a one-day festival type gig, and one of the headliner bands was some kind of amalgamation of different musicians from legendary Kiwi bands. Right. And they brought this guy up, I can't remember his name, but I think he might have been like the original drummer from DD Smash or something like that.
Okay.
And they said, we've got a special guest, to do a couple of songs, we've got such and such, and this guy appeared. I had already done my bit, so we're standing in the wings watching. And this guy came up, he was super old, He looked like he could barely walk. He was quite overweight, not judging, just saying. He kind of hobbled up there, and I thought, oh my God, should we call the ambulance now? You know, like, what's going to happen? And he gets up there on the kit, and I'm starting to sort of look around like, is this going to be all right? And he just pauses for a second, clicks the band in, and just floors me. Just the most solid, the most amount of intent, the attitude, just the conviction in his playing. And I was standing there with a couple of my musician friends, and we just looked at each other wide-eyed, just like, what the hell? This isn't this pretty, prissy, flashy little garbage that a lot of modern players play. Like, so many players these days just play like they couldn't care less. And this guy just wiped the floor. It's incredible.
Yeah. I think as well, pre-click, pre-quantizing, auto-tune, all that stuff that we have today, I think the players back then had a lot more of a signature. Like, I can tell it's Lars.
Yeah.
Even before Bob Rock came in and started producing it, giving them a lot of production.
Right.
He does like a snare and crash thing, and that is just trademark. You normally had a kick drum with a crash. He does a lot of snare and crash, and people, again, mock that.
Yeah.
But I just feel like he's got a signature. It's him.
Right. Yeah.
I know it's him straight away, which you lose if you quantize that. It's gone.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Totally gone.
The some kind of monster doco had a moment where he was trying to come up with something for a riff. I don't know if you remember that, but
no.
James is playing a relatively straight riff, and the obvious thing would be to put the kick on the one and whatever. And Lars is trying to come up with some back to front upside down groove.
Interesting.
It was almost
he
like
was definitely trying to do something a bit more interesting.
It was almost like he was going for a Copeland thing.
Yep.
Yeah, and James says something funny like, "I'm used to the drummer, like playing the beats." or something like that, and Lars is getting really angry because he's trying to come up and he's kind of I don't want to just play the predictable thing and whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And I'm thinking about even an Enter Sandman where he's got that four on the floor and then they're hitting that dun 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 like that. Just these little surprises that we're now so used to. I watched that and I thought, because I know people have criticized him for that, and I thought, but if you don't look for the next idea, you just play what everyone else is playing. You just repeat. And it's all very well to judge it after the fact, but part of being creative is taking chances.
Absolutely.
You take those chances. And the only difference was that in that case, they filmed it.
Yeah, for sure.
We've all done that without cameras. What about this idea? No, that sucks.
I'll put that in the bin.
I'll tell you what, because Enter Sandman is legit probably one of my most requested songs for people to learn still.
Yeah.
Which speaks to legacy. But learning that song is really difficult, especially if you wanted to learn it note for note, which a lot of students do, like learning things note for note.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of improvising is weird to them, And so you do want to get a little bit of his style and try and read your way through the chart and stuff. And it constantly changes. It is almost, dare I say, a jazz rock part.
Right.
It constantly evolves. And all those little offbeat crashes and ba ba ba, and then there's two of them, then there's four of them, and then it's just. But that's exciting.
Yeah.
If we copy paste that, and they all go dum dum dun 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 ba dun 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 ba dun 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 dun, it's like, yeah.
Yeah,
we've got the idea, man.
Yeah.
Another really interesting way to make that point is for anybody who's got, recording software and the ability to program MIDI and things like that. Just get something like that and program it, and put it right on the grid.
Good point.
And it is just dead.
Yep.
It's lifeless. And when people do simulate these things, they use a variety of tricks to actually try and breathe life back into these things, like humanizers and that you have to go and kind of mess it up to make it sound in any way convincing.
Yeah.
But
Give
if you
it a
imagine
little bit of swing and groove.
you have to fluctuate the dynamics on the plays and you have to move what's that one called that they use where that kind of moves everything slightly out of time?
Oh,
I forget what it's
know.
called. Yeah, but I thought that was really funny when it came out. It's like, it's now perfect. Now let's undo it all.
But that is interesting, right? When you've got unconventional, almost untrained style playing, that's interesting for me.
Yeah.
I enjoy that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to put it on and listen to it all the time, but I certainly appreciate it.
And untrained as in like not like conventional technique and
yeah, I mean,
right.
maybe he did get lessons and stuff. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I didn't go that far into his backstory, but he sounds, and he strikes me as someone who is going to do it his way.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I think I saw on a doc he actually got lessons recently.
Oh, okay.
It might have been a slightly older interview thing, so it might have been like 5-10 years ago. But I feel like he didn't get lessons, but a lot of those guys didn't. And I think there's a big difference between original artists and session musicians.
Yep.
Like session musicians are a different, different ball game because they have to kind of be able to do everything. That's when you've got your Vinnie Colaiutas because Vinnie played with Herbie Hancock and he also played with Megadeth. That's a session musician. But that's different to the musicians who break ground. Like, there are a lot of very, very famous, celebrated musicians who I think are technically very flawed.
Yeah.
But super important when it comes.
They innovated somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. And they probably couldn't have gotten there without if they were too organized.
Well, I'm pretty sure Lars did have some formal education. I know he spoke about it when he was in school in Denmark, like just as part of the public school. Like he kind of started in the music courses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Did you know that he actually came to America to play tennis?
Yeah.
I was just thinking. I was just remembering that. Yeah.
So
it's quite good, right?
Yeah. Well, in the story that I heard him say, apparently he was like top 10 in Denmark, and then he moved to the States and he didn't even make his high school team
right
when he moved to America.
Is that right?
but that discipline approach, I feel like definitely plays a big part throughout his career.
Yeah.
Whatever discipline he had to get started with Metallica and really develop that sound, there was so much that he brought to the table that wasn't just part of the technical drumming.
Right. Yeah.
So I feel like that's one part that quite often he doesn't get enough credit for.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say I think that also sort of leads into what is the goal of the band? Is the goal here for us all to play our instruments flawlessly,
right,
and safe, or are we a rock band?
Yeah.
That's trying to sell albums and sell out, a live concert. There has to be something pulling you to the venue.
Yeah.
Hopefully that you wouldn't want to miss.
This is where rock and roll actually has a lot in common with jazz.
Yeah.
Because if you play it too safe in jazz, it becomes dinner music.
Yeah.
But the great jazz artists are pushing and exploring and trying and failing a lot of the time,
So, I mean, by most metrics, you would have to say he is an absolute outlier on the success end. With a huge legacy, decades in the game, very wealthy, seemingly happy. And so these are all buckets of success.
But my question for you, speaking of lessons, is have you ever considered getting guitar lessons?
Oh, I'm actually thinking about it just before I arrived.
Were you? Well, whether you've picked up a guitar or you've been playing for years, did you like that?
Keep going.
I was trying to keep a straight face. Whether you've picked up a guitar or you've been playing for years and you've hit a wall, I can't even read this, it's too dark in here. Auckland Guitar Lessons are for you. Lessons are one-on-one and every session is built around your goals, your tastes, and the songs you actually want to play. All the fundamentals of technique and theory are covered in an accessible way and applied within the songs you're learning, so you can progress faster and actually enjoy the ride. I can't read this. I was thinking the other day about finally getting a Kindle because I sit down at night to read a book and I'm literally reading the book like that. I've forgotten the story. I'm just trying to see what the word is. If you've always wanted to play, now's the time. If you've plateaued, Auckland Guitar Lessons will unlock your playing, rebuild your confidence, and get you moving again. Head to aucklandguitarlessons.co.nz or email info@aucklandguitarlessons.co.nz to find out more, and I will expect your email on Monday, Andrew Rooney.
Just like that.
And if you had not laughed...
No, man,
it was your fault now.
I'm going full creativity, no lessons. I'm just going to get a guitar and just...
So let's talk about Saint Anger. I read about the controversy with the snare sound and I couldn't remember it, so I went and listened to it and was genuinely shocked at how terrible it was. And again, to my point of trying new things, you've got to try new things, and sometimes you get it wrong. And I remember, was it you or someone else I said about that? It could be in a parallel universe that we talk about that being the game changer. That was the moment the sound of the snare drum changed forever. He was a total genius to be ahead and whatever. Because I remember when. I remember some pretty big changes in the sounds of snare drums, like the early 90s piccolo sound and all of that. So he might have nailed it, but he didn't.
But even there, that is actually an iconic snare sound now.
Is it?
Everybody knows that.
Oh,
And like you mentioned
yeah.
before, the
I
memes,
I still kind of love it. I'm not gonna lie.
the baseball bats on the rubbish tin.
Yeah.
Like that, he kind of even won there
Right.
in a funny way, because it's probably the most talked about snare sound ever.
It still lives on, doesn't it?
You can't argue with that. I just want to explore that a bit further, but Mike, why do you like it?
I couldn't.
Spotlight.
Like I say, listening back to it now, I totally understand all the criticism.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't know any better. I just thought, hey, this is a bit funky. It's a bit of a different sound. It was
Right.
definitely a different sound than earlier Metallica albums that I'd listened to. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
There are a couple examples. You could play, I think, Dirty Window or Saint Anger. Those are probably the two examples from that album that I think are the worst. Those are the ones where it really stands out. And then I feel like Some Kind of Monster and Sweet Amber are two examples where it actually kind of fits in the song a little bit better. So I feel like for whatever reason, they had that same mixing over the whole album. And if they had just kind of sprinkled it in here or there, maybe it wouldn't have been so bad.
Right. Well, we'll cue a song. Which one do you want me to cue up?
Throw on Dirty Window.
Yeah.
That'll be a good one to see just how outrageous this sound is.
And just before I do, am I right in saying that boingy kind of snare sound, I feel like I heard that a lot in the early 90s with a lot of sort of funk rock bands and stuff. Am I right?
Well, maybe not quite like this, but
Yeah. I mean, that was intense.
Yeah.
Extreme.
Are your headphones right? They're not expensive. They're not just going to like get destroyed by the snare tone or anything.
Replace my entire
Turn
studio.
it all down.
You can already hear it cutting through, eh?
Yeah.
Oh,
And he just rides it.
Yeah.
but it actually works right there.
Yeah.
In the mix. It's a statement.
It's bold. Weirdly, it's not annoying me as much as it did the other day.
It's dead isolated on its own, but not here.
It's pretty gnarly though, eh?
Yeah.
It's very prominent in the
Yeah.
mix for sure.
I'm trying to think about how you'd even get that sound in the studio. Like surrounded by like sheets of stainless steel.
Was this Bob Rock? Did he
Yeah.
produce? Oh, interesting.
This is the last Bob Rock album.
Okay.
Yeah. This is Saint Anger, right? This song?
This one's Dirty Window. If you want to chuck on a
No,
little...
but it's
Yeah,
on
Saint,
Saint
yeah.
Anger. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is Bob Rock. He's no, noob. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And
He did the Black album.
he signed this off.
Yeah. He must have been in the same frame of mind of trying new things. What did you want to hear next?
Throw on Sweet Amber or Some Kind of... Sweet Amber, I think, was a good one. So for Sweet Amber, I think it's a bit... Yeah, it starts just on a guitar riff. And when the drums come in, it is a bit... It feels like it's a bit less in the mix. It's not so in your face. I don't know how they got that reverb on the snare, though. Like, it's...
I don't think I've heard this one.
I think this might be my favorite song from the album.
Cool riff.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And there it is. There we go.
Okay, that made me laugh.
I noticed in the movie, in the documentary, that they had like a digital recording suite up with lots of edits and stuff. So I think we're in the heavy editing phase at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not down. I mean, I don't. Everything else sounds good.
Yeah. That's pretty out there.
It's still very. I don't know what it is. Like, how did they even get that sound?
Did you have another one, like a better era of production you want to reference?
I was going to go back, but by the way, if you do want a palette cleanser, snare tone, One Headlight, The Wallflowers,
Oh yeah.
Matt Chamberlain on drums. I don't know how easy it is for you to drop in here. Maybe it's impossible. Just totally off topic, but if you're listening, just pause the podcast for 10 seconds and put on that song, and that's what a snare.
And that's what it should sound like.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually, because once I listened to Saint Anger, I went and I thought I better go and check out the snares on other Metallica albums. And it was interesting because the snare on Enter Sandman, I don't like as a snare sound, but it obviously works brilliantly for the context, right?
Right.
But the Master of Puppets snare I thought sounded amazing.
Okay. Well, Master of Puppets was on my list.
Okay. Should we put that on?
And I was also sort of going to, for a little bit of context, when you're hearing these earlier Metallica songs and albums, just think stuff like Rick Astley was on the radio, you know.
Yeah,
Faith,
for sure.
George Michael, Faith,
That's
Whitney Houston, you know, think of that.
Yeah.
And then this. That's killer, right?
That's
Yeah,
great.
that is awesome.
Guitar tone sounds almost the same.
It's not very different.
No.
No.
I mean, the guitar is a drummer, you know,
Yeah.
in Metallica.
Yeah, he's solid.
Yeah, I don't know how you do those downbeats that fast. For that long, anyways.
That's what she said.
You're waiting
That's
to
a
throw
nice-
one of those in there.
Do you like that snare? I like that snare.
I love everything about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just sounds amazing to me.
Yeah.
We started with their lowlights. Now we're hearing some of the highlights.
Right, yeah. I mean, I don't remember how many albums in this is, but it's an early one, right?
Third
one.
album.
Okay.
Yeah. So, isn't there just a level of authenticity?
Yeah.
You hear, I don't know how I can validate that. Or quantify it.
Pre-editing, recorded to reel, all of that.
Yeah,
stuff
it's all
here too.
analog and,
Yep.
you know.
Yep.
But
You can definitely feel the intensity.
and younger. You
Yeah.
can hear somehow, well, his voice as well. He sounds younger. But the band sounds younger.
Yeah, yeah. The energy of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The earnestness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just trying to kick ass.
Yeah.
I feel like that.
Yeah, like that. You feel like they're getting ready for a fight or something. You
Right.
know, like
Yeah.
you can definitely feel the aggression in it.
Yeah. Which in some ways is not fair because, you know, everyone gets older. What are they supposed to do about
100%.
it? You know? But you can see why this blew up.
Yeah, for sure.
Another thing, thinking of what else was around, like Whitney Houston or George Michael or whatever. This song, I believe, is about 8 minutes long.
Right.
With a lot of arrangement, with a lot of different parts. Really interlocking sort of band stuff, which, you know, he's a band drummer, right? I said before that he's a rock guy.
Right.
He's also a band compositional drummer, like a Keith Moon,
Yeah.
you know?
Exactly.
Like, he's thinking compositionally. He's not thinking, I've got to record the exact right part here and I've got to get it perfect and, you know, I've got to, you know, perfectly subdivide the beat and my fill needs to, you know, there's none of that
Yeah.
coming into the equation.
One of my comments I've got written down here is the best drummer for Metallica, e.g. Keith Moon.
Oh,
Keith
there
Moon
you
for The
go.
Who. I mean, Keith Moon is an interesting example because he was such a bonkers drummer.
Yeah.
And I think he would be more or less totally unemployable in any other
100%.
situation. He
Yeah.
couldn't have... That might be slightly unfair. He probably could have gotten it together if he needed to, if he was more sober as well. But I'm not sure. But he was obviously the guy for The Who.
Yep, totally. I mean, Ringo, possibly, you know, more hireable and
for sure.
versatile, but also a compositional. He's almost got the producer brain.
Yeah.
You know, he's over. You saw it in the documentary, the Beatles doco. He's just sitting back,
Yeah.
letting everyone
Yeah.
fight and argue, and he's just like, okay. And then he just sits down and plays the perfect drum part and you just think, what? Oh, he was paying attention.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
I think that is probably a point to stick on a little bit more with Lars, and sort of the wider skill set. I feel like that's one thing that's not really touched on enough. You know, I understand where people kind of rag on his technical abilities when it is in a genre that is just known for incredible technical prowess, especially in the drumming field. But I don't think Metallica ever gets to the level of success they had without Lars's business brain. You know, like he had all of those other pieces. You always see him in the interviews because he was well spoken, he was well educated. He had all sorts of other passions and interests outside of just metal music.
Yep.
I don't know if the rest of the guys in the bands had that. It didn't really come across in any of the stuff that I sort of saw.
For sure.
So he was really leading more of the trajectory of the band, and really I think doesn't always get enough credit for the actual business success of the
Being
band.
the driving force.
Absolutely.
And that's a tough job. It's a tough industry. It's a tough world anyway.
Yep.
But it's a tough industry. And to be able to keep that strength up long term. Because I was also thinking about whether we're talking about eras of his career where he was really on or when he was struggling. You're talking about, a long career. I mean, people are saying that at the moment he's never been fitter and he's playing brilliantly now. He's been shedding a lot, and he's really taken care of himself, and I think he's in a really good headspace, according to a documentary I watched, and an interview, I mean. And so, if we are talking about, at this particular point, he was having a tough time and he was feeling a bit out of shape and going through some stuff. Okay, we all do that.
That's life.
And he powered through it.
Yeah, he
Don't
powered
we
through
try
it.
and teach resilience to kids?
Right,
Like,
exactly.
hey, you might have failed in the sports game. Doesn't matter. You got to pick yourself up and keep going.
Yeah.
Doesn't that apply here?
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, it's almost like the message is he should have just stayed home and kept his mouth shut.
And we get a better drummer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, if that happened, they wouldn't be going.
No,
That's it.
it wouldn't be Metallica.
That's right.
And where do we draw the line? So we can get a better vocalist than James. I'm sure we all agree.
In some metric.
There
yeah.
are technically better singers than James.
Yeah.
There are technically better guitarists than Kirk Hammett. There are technically better bassists who will slap your face off and do all kinds of crazy stuff than Robert Trujillo, whoever the bassist was back in the day. And same on drums. We could put Josh Freese there, we can perfect every element of the band.
Yeah.
And then it's not Metallica.
Yeah.
So we're back at square one. We need to build another Metallica.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, how many parts of the Jenga puzzle do we take out before it falls apart,
And that's what other bands have had to face. I mean, The Who lost Keith Moon and they kept going, and
Led Zepp.
And I mean, the Foo Fighters obviously have gone through some rigmarole recently. And speaking of Josh Freese, I mean, he really is a session drummer who probably didn't belong in the band in some ways.
I thought he sounded great, but
yeah, I'm funny with Josh Freese. I think he really suits some things and not other things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a great point. So that was a real life example.
Yeah.
Were Foo Fighters better? He is, I mean, technically he's a better drummer than Taylor Hawkins.
Yeah.
I love Taylor Hawkins. That wasn't a diss on him at all. I love Taylor Hawkins. But Josh Freese he's a better drummer. Technically.
Yeah. Yeah.
He
Taylor's
can
got
do
the
more
energy,
stuff, right?
Yeah.
But were the band better?
I guess not. I guess that's why they got him out.
And it's this whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Can you imagine if he did Lars stopped playing?
Yeah.
Can you imagine the audition process? How on earth you cannot replace him? He's 5 people. He's business, he's drums.
Yeah, definitely.
Not only that, though, but he has this relationship now with Hetfield.
Yeah.
That, I mean, these guys learnt to play together.
Yeah.
Basically. I mean, probably not literally right at the start, but they were very, very young and they navigated the business and went through hell together and the whole thing. So they're going to be locked in terms of their chemistry musically. I reckon if they went out and tried to do it with someone else, it would take a long time for it to settle. Have you heard about the one time where Lars couldn't make it?
Yeah.
I watched a bit of that the other day.
Was
It was
Joey
interesting.
Jordison and someone else did another set?
It was there
drum
were
tech?
Is he the Slipknot
Yeah.
drummer? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
there was a few people that played. It was the Download Festival in 2004. Lars had suffered a severe anxiety attack and was rushed to hospital. Dave Lombardo from
Yep.
Slayer.
He's a monster.
He played Battery and the Four Horsemen. Lars's drum tech, no kidding. Lars's drum tech's name is Fleming Larson. Is that a requirement that your first name must be in your
Wow.
tech's surname? I like that guy. I like the sound of his name. Let's hire him. He played,
Sounds like a gun.
but I've come across that quite a bit actually. And yes, it was Joey Jordison from Slipknot played the rest of the set. But often their techs can sit in like that.
Yeah.
Often the techs are better musicians.
I think it really highlights it too that one gig that he didn't make was such a big deal.
Well,
Because he
people-
makes
yeah.
every gig.
But also people have talked about how there were technically better drummers on that gig and it just didn't sound like Metallica.
I think you could get someone in who's really adept in the style, and it would probably snap them a little bit more into time. And I think possibly it might translate as a better sound live.
Right.
I'll accept that. But again, like you're saying, Mike, this is what the hobbyist sees. They just see the raw,
The very narrow view.
and you're not seeing what's happening the other 22 hours of the day.
Yeah.
And then year after year, decade after decade.
In some ways, this entire episode could be a waste of time.
Damn.
And the reason why I say that is because maybe we're going to too much effort to counter an argument that's not really an argument. Is it actually just that people just get swept up in common belief systems?
But surely part of it is jealousy as well. Because you want to be a successful musician.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Is it still a thing? Do people still want to be rock stars? They certainly used to,
Yeah. I think they want to be influencers now.
maybe. But surely jealousy is part of this.
Maybe, but I just think that a lot of the time people just say what everyone else says.
Yep.
They know that everyone has like he's such a dick, and they just repeat. They do it about Ringo, they do it about Bono, they do it about all sorts of people.
It's almost like we bully this kid because he's weird,
Yeah,
and then everyone else says, "Yeah, he's weird."
yeah.
Just
So I'm going to bully him
dogpile.
too.
It's like, have you had your own thought? Have you ever heard of critical thinking?
I mean, I obviously don't know Lars. I don't know what he's like as a guy. Maybe he's not someone I would want to have a coffee with. I have no idea. I don't really care.
Yeah.
But I do think it is just, it's rough. I
I have listened to a few interviews with him in the last day or so, and of course I don't know him either, and he might be a total nightmare to know. But I actually think he comes across really well.
I
Smart.
agree.
I think he comes
I
across
agree.
really smart, really thoughtful. Yeah.
And I think it's easier to see that now when we get a lot more sort of long form content. If you sit down and listen to an hour long podcast where he's been interviewed on it, you get a lot more depth and nuance. Whereas I feel like probably for the majority of their career, the only time you ever saw anything was a little snippet.
Right.
So you see those snippets out of like the documentary, or you see an interview where maybe he comes off a little bit pretentious, or because that's sort of his personality in the business. His business attitude. I definitely think that plays a large part in the hate.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it is jealousy. I don't know if it's simply, well, you're a rock star, you shouldn't be caring about all that stuff. But I mean, we don't hold professional athletes to that same standard.
No.
I never really understood why you hold musicians to that. Like they have to be this, and I mean, maybe because part of it is that sort of rebellious, angry attitude that they portray in their music, but that doesn't need to be them 24/7. I hope it's not.
That's a great point. I've always thought about that. Athletes are in bar fights and and drug rings and they do all sorts of crazy stuff. We're like, it's fine. He got so many tries on the last.
they get hit in the head for a living. Like,
But Lars has an opinion. Doesn't want his music stolen. What a prick.
I know. That's interesting.
And if there is like an element of cultural cringe, sort of, almost like he's been cancelled. He's the guy. You could do this in reverse with a term that you love, yacht rock. Like, for want of a better term.
I love yacht rock.
Oh my god, I've always loved it.
This is where we're in agreement. This is going to be a different episode. But
Okay.
we like the music. We don't like the name yacht rock.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
kind of done the other way, right?
Right.
Where that was incredibly cringe.
Yeah.
Hall and Oates. Ooh, that's like, that's what my parents would listen to and stuff. But now it's cool.
Yeah.
But nothing's.
That's a different episode. I want to get into that now.
Yeah.
But it's only cool in a kind of parody way, like
In an ironic way.
Yeah, an ironic way,
But
exactly.
I also think there's another inception layer of this where it still only works if it's good.
I agree.
You can't put it on and ironically love it.
Maybe people use the irony side of it to give themselves permission to enjoy it again.
Player, baby come back. I always going to say baby got back.
Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Two totally different songs.
Yeah,
you know the song, right?
Up.
Yeah.
Player, baby come back. I don't understand. If you don't like that song, we can't be friends. It's like, that is an example where you hear people playing it a lot now.
Yeah.
Or they'll use it as background on like an Instagram clip or whatever. And it's just like, no, you actually do like that song. You're using it ironically, but you like it.
Did you have anything else you wanted to comment on?
No, I think we're good.
Well, if you are enjoying the show, do you want to do this bit? I don't feel like talking anymore.
Sure. If you're enjoying the show, leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and tell a friend. It helps us grow and we really appreciate it. And make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode.
So this is where we try to summarize, we try to come up with a conclusion, we talk about anything we've learnt or if our minds have been changed about anything. So do you want to take the lead on that?
I'm pretty staunch on this. I don't like bullying.
Yeah.
Whether it's a little kid or a rich rock star, you know.
But that is what it is, isn't it?
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't think of that.
And like, if we're talking about success buckets, we all set out to be as good as we can. And they've hit the targets and then some.
Right.
They made new targets.
So
120 to 180 million albums worldwide.
So,
Wow.
and possibly, aside from the money and everything, it's probably the legacy, People will always listen to Metallica's music.
Yeah.
Forever. As long as we've got music.
Well, look what happened when they came here just recently.
Yep.
Just instantly sold out.
Still selling out, you
Yep.
know. So, I don't know. I just think, what are you winning from taking part in it? Just don't listen.
Yep.
I mean, again, I'm not even the number one fanboy. I don't listen to Metallica. So there's the point. I just don't listen.
Yep.
But if I do, it's like, cool. Especially the old tracks, it's like, this is amazing. Love
Yep.
it.
Mike?
I do understand some of the pushback around maybe some of the simplicity in the playing. I can understand some of the pushback and maybe some of the attitudes around his business persona and some of the other outspoken things that he said.
Right.
But he was and still is the most outspoken member of the band. So when they want to do an interview, he's the one who's up there, and it's just you naturally attract more noise and controversy around you when you're constantly putting yourself out there. So I think that's a big part of it. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think Lars is the CEO of the most successful metal band in history.
Yeah.
And I think without Lars, there's no Metallica.
And also there's all the other bands that were influenced by them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I surprised to hear you say the simplicity, because I think their music is pretty...
Yeah, I was going to push
crazy.
back on that as well a little bit.
I guess that's what I've read other people say online. I don't really agree with it, to be
I
honest.
think it's more execution now of much beloved drum parts. It's possibly some live execution, but it's hard to play live. He's 61? I
Something
think.
like that, yeah.
It's no picnic playing this stuff. That was an 8-minute song.
Yeah.
And he's been
played
doing it at the highest level
Yeah.
since the 80s.
And hey, he's not phoning it in. He is playing it.
Right.
James is singing. Do we want to go here? James is singing live.
Yeah.
These guys are playing live.
And they're sounding great.
We're not doing backing tracks.
That's it.
We're not on click. We're not doing this and that. So that alone,
Yeah.
it deserves some level of respect, I think.
My conclusion is more or less along the same lines. I started my prep for this episode relatively indifferent. I just thought it'd be an interesting thing to talk about. I finished my research and just have now got enormous respect for the guy. His attitude, his like you were talking about, Mike, his driving force, his business mind. He's they've gone through a lot. I mean, the other side of that Napster thing is, what would it be like to be him and have that much hate come at you like a tsunami? I don't know how he got through that and didn't snap. I don't know if I could have gotten through that. So I just came out the other end just going, I think he's actually really awesome.
Cool. That's a great way to finish it.
The Lars Love Fest is concluded.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
All right. You've got a riff for us, Mike.
Sure. C minor?
Yep. need some
I don't
Rooney.
know. I don't want to ruin the vibe. Oh, you know what?
This episode was brought to you by Auckland Guitar Lessons. Head to aucklandguitarlessons.co.nz or email info@aucklandguitarlessons.co.nz to find out more.